We're just 10 days away from a government shutdown, and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy was just dealt another blow as hardliners sank the defense funding bill. Here with me now, Republican Congressman Bob Good of Virginia. He's a member of the House Freedom Caucus. Congressman, thank you so much for coming in on a very, very busy day. You supported moving forward with this defense bill right now. What is your level of concern with your own members who sank this on the floor just moments ago?
Well, while I voted for the bill to proceed, and I voted for it a day or two ago when we last had it, because often you're doing what you think is most right when it comes to policy or strategy decisions, and I understand the concerns of some of my colleagues, and what they're asking for, and what I have been asking for actually, is that the Speaker commits to the top line number and that we see the whole puzzle on how all 12 spending bills fit together to achieve the agreed upon top line number. And some have concern about passing the bill with the spending increase that we agree with $28 billion for defense, but they want to see also simultaneously bills being brought forward that'll bring the spending cuts that'll bring us in line with the number that we've agreed to.
Yeah, look, so they stopped this bill going forward, but this is the year-long bill. We have an immediate issue we have to deal with in Congress to actually keep the government open past September 30th. The Speaker yesterday laid out a new plan to keep the government open for a month. We have some conditions in it. It has some deals with border security, has cuts in there. It sounds like you are on board with that idea. Is that right?
Well, I've never been someone who said I would never vote for a CR on any conditions. What I've said is I wouldn't vote for an unconditional CR. And I support what the House Freedom Caucus put out as our official position back in August, where we said we wouldn't vote for a CR or continuing resolution that didn't cut our spending and didn't have some policy wins for the American people, such as securing the border.
So the bill that he put out yesterday, you would vote for that he suggested yesterday?
And just to clarify, it was member-driven, members coming together trying to find the best path forward. What's the lowest spending number we could commit to it to get 218 votes? Securing the border is very important to the Republican Party. Sadly, it is not important to the Democrat Party. I fear Schumer will shut down the government rather than helping us shut down the border. But I do support, with the agreement on the top line spending bills on how we're going to cut our spending and advance our policies to reverse the harm in which the Americans are suffering, these policies from the Biden, Pelosi, Schumer regime that the American people are suffering under that are destroying the country. Reverse those policies, cut our spending. If we agree to do that on the top line level, I do support a CR that gives us a little bit of time to eliminate the impact of a short pause in non-essential funding or non-essential operations that includes securing the border. I hope the Senate would take that up also and allow us to secure the border and cut our spending, keep the government open.
There, the president of Ukraine with Lloyd Austin and laying a wreath there at the 9/11 memorial at the Pentagon. This comes, of course, Congressman, as Zelensky was in the Capitol today making the pitch for more aid to Ukraine, $24 billion in aid to Ukraine. There is going to be a big push to try to get this in the bill to keep the government open past September 30th. What do you say if that comes to the House and Kevin McCarthy is under pressure to put on the floor? What would you say to him?
Well, I have to tell you, as I watched that video and we're reminded of the greatest tragedy of the last 20 years in our country, 9/11, and the president was the first president ever to not attend a 9/11 event to commemorate that, to memorialize that. I did that even in my own district. I ran a 9/11 Memorial Stair Challenge to commemorate and remember what our first responders did on that day and what they do on every day. In addition, the president is terribly compromising this country, has done irreparable harm to the country with the border invasion he has allowed, with 1.5 million criminal gotaways, the ones with terrorist ties, criminal ties, 160 different countries. And the president doesn't care about who he has allowed into the country and continues to allow in the country every day. We will only know the irreparable harm that's been done once the border is secured by the next administration and their accomplices are no longer coming in. Think about that, 1.5 million. If 10% of them are evil individuals who intend harm on our country, that'd be 150,000. If only 1% are, it'd be 15,000.
But I'm asking about the
president should be impeached because of the border. With respect to Ukraine, we had a bill in the House or an amendment to say, hey, we ought to at least have a strategy and a plan from the administration in order to give more funds for Ukraine. And that was sadly voted down in the House, that we're going to just continue to give money without a strategy or a plan. I have not seen what is the limit of the U.S. involvement from this administration. What's the accountability for the funds that have already been sent? What is our direct national security interest to lead us to borrow from our kids and grandkids, to further exacerbate our spending situation, our debt situation, and to further deplete our own military reserves when this administration has depleted and weakened our military since he became president?
Can Kevin McCarthy still be Speaker of the House if he puts a bill on the floor of the House to fund Ukraine?
I haven't heard vehement opposition that the speaker can't put a bill on the floor to fund Ukraine. I think what we're actually calling for is any funding for Ukraine ought to be in a standalone bill on the floor so we can vote it up or down and not have it slid into something else like part of a CR or part of an omnibus or something like that. And it ought to be voted up and down. That's what we're paid to do. That's what the people elect us to do, is to take tough votes to let our constituents know where we stand, and we ought to do that on Ukraine as well.
Right. This is, as we're talking about the stopgap resolution, the continuing resolution, or CR, as it's known here in Washington, there's a big question about how this gets resolved. Let's just say you guys get this proposal out of the House. That's still an open question, whether it can actually get passed. It passes, goes over to the Senate. The Senate's going to change it. They're going to change it, and they're going to send it back. If Kevin McCarthy agrees to move forward with a bill that has the support of a large number of Democrats, would you vote to eject him from the speakership?
Well, think about that. If we send a bill that cuts $10 billion in spending and secures the border and keeps the government open while we continue to negotiate our spending bills and try to pass them out of the House and the Senate, you mean to tell me Chuck Schumer is going to orchestrate a Schumer shutdown, frankly, where when we're running about a $200 billion deficit every month, he can't agree to $10 billion in spending cuts and to secure the border? He would rather shut down the government than secure the border. That's on Chuck Schumer.
But would you vote to vacate Kevin McCarthy if he agrees to pass a bill with the support of Democrats?
I have never cavalierly or flippantly thrown around motion to vacate. I haven't talked about that in a public way. We expect the Speaker and the Republican leadership to help advance Republican priorities, Republican policy objectives, to do what he committed to do in order to become Speaker. And we will evaluate him based on whether or not he does that. And I've said, that I think he's accountable to do that, and every speaker should be accountable to do that. And that's why motion to vacate was an important thing to have put back in the House rules, as it was for 200 years before Nancy Pelosi removed it.
Mr. Good, thank you for coming in, sharing your insight, your views. We appreciate a lot to watch in the next week or so.
Thank you.
The White House is